Hello everyone, welcome back. Nigel with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and here we are now with part 7 of the build of this Pocher 1/8 Porsche 917K, and it's the Golf edition. So in part 6 we actually got on and we painted the, well, we didn't paint, we got on and we did the building of the dashboard and all the framework and everything in here, and that was quite tricky. I also managed to chip the paint. This is, if you're worried this is the different colours of yours, it's because I've repainted it. I wanted to get rid of all the ejector pin marks and everything that were in the floor down here, so I sanded them out and I repainted this with the Tamiya LP12, which is a Cure grey, the colour of the Imperial Japanese Navy's Yamato. So there we go. I think it looks quite accurate. Lots of pictures have different shades of grey, so there we go. So now in the next part, in part 8, so basically now we've kind of broken rank with, the video was part 6 and we did part 6. Now we're on part 7 and we're actually working on part 8 and probably part 9 as well. So, you know, we're going to be working on part 8 is going to be working on part 10. So don't think that the video part is linking to this anymore. It won't. It may catch up because we do, with these pocket kits, we get 3 or 4 pages on one stage. So in this part, we're going to be building this pedal box. So we've got the actual frame here, which looks pretty accurate, that goes into the floor. And on there we have the mounts for the lower wishbones. So we can see the wishbones are going to be going in the next part. We've got springs here, little springs going in there, so obviously these pedals are going to be able to move. I don't quite know why, but you will be able to move them. So we've got a footrest, we've got the clutch pedal, brake pedal and throttle. So, and then we've got our master cylinders there. So basically we've got the main frame here. Now I've got this off the sprue. It's on sprue K, it's number 1. And I'm not sure if you can see them, but there are some ejector pin marks in there. So I filled them with black super glue and sanded them out. Hopefully you can see them there. There's also a mould seam that runs all the way around the middle. So if you want to, sand that out and repaint it black. If not, just leave it as it is. It'll be absolutely fine. It looks great out of the box. You can't really see the ejector pin marks unless you really look for them. But I'm a scale modeler. I can't stand ejector pin marks. I like to get rid of them. Even if they're in areas, that are completely unseen, then I don't bother, obviously. But if there's a chance you could see them, I get rid of them. So we've got the footrest there, DCD12. So that's on here. That's in your metal trays. And this on the real car pictures I've got, it's actually black. So there is actually like a mould area on the side that needs to be sanded off. There's a mould seam down the side, and there's an ejector pin mark in the back. So I filled that, sanded it, that's ready for paint. And then we've got here is the actual pedal pivot assembly and the master cylinder. So we've got 3 master cylinders, so that's 2 brake. So you've got a balance bar for front to back. And then on the left there we've got the clutch. So this is a normal sort of race car pedal box. So what we'll do, we'll paint this black because all of the mounting should be black. And then these will be painted in like an aluminium colour after we've done the black. Now the rest of it, we've got the 3 pedals here. We've got the clutch, brake and the throttle pedal. They're in here. I've put these in my little box here. We can see, here they are, they're there. And they've also got seams on them that need to be cleaned off. So we'll clean them off and we'll get them repainted. I'm not going to worry too much about etch priming these because they're never going to be touched. They're sort of in a, you know, an untouchable area really. So I'm not going to worry about etch priming. I might put some of the Mr. Hobby etch primer, which isn't that good to be honest. But there we go. So there's our 3 pedals there. So they're going to go in with those springs and they're going to be movable and they'll spring back up to the center position. I think this might be quite difficult to assemble. We shall see. So that's going to be that. So I need to go away and get that painted now. And then once we've done this, in this video, I'm intending to move on to assembling these lower wishbones and stuff and looking at perhaps repainting the coils, the springs, the shock absorbers, whatever, I don't know. We'll look into that. And we'll go from there. We've also got to fit these tie rods to the end of the steering rack, and they need to have their thread tapped in them for screw E. So we'll probably cut the thread in them and just go like halfway in, and then we'll have the little screw in, and then the last little bit will be like a lock to lock the screw in. If we cut the thread all the way through, then the screw E will just go in and it'll be able to come back out. So we'd have to put some thread lock on it or something. But I may just half cut the threads and then we can go from there. So, but never mind that for now. What we're going to concentrate on first of all is the actual pedal box itself. So as I say, I'm going to get some sanding done. I've got these little skinny sticks I use here from Icky Sticky over in Australia. These were sent to me by Annie. Thank you, Annie. But these are, since the flory skinny sticks sort of disappeared, these are the alternative. But I just want to sand out these mould seams on here to get rid of the... I'll tell you what, I could use some of that VMS metal primer on here, couldn't I? So I'm just going to sand out those mould seams, and then we'll get these painted in silver, and we'll get the rest of it all painted in black. These should be aluminium, I think. Maybe the shaft should be painted black, we shall see. Maybe I'll do something a bit interesting to make them look a bit more interesting for what you're going to see of them. Whether it's worth or not, I don't know. Okay, so back in a minute when all the painting's done. Right, so here we go, we're back, and as you can see we've got the ejector pin marks filled and the part is now all painted. So really not necessary because it can hardly be seen, it's so buried away. Now the pedals I've repainted. I've had a look online and these pedals are very, very simplified to what they really were. For them to make them as they really were would have been a major task. So I don't blame them for just, you know, very much simplifying them. As far as colours go, some appear to be aluminium, some appear to be magnesium, and some, like I've got here, appear to be black. So I've just done it black with silver. These tread parts here appear accurate. This here is a footrest, goes on the left hand side. This was actually a sheet of aluminium that's full of holes. So if you want to sort of replace it with a piece of plastic card with holes in it, you can. But again, it's very, very buried away, as you'll see in a minute, and you're hardly going to see it. So, as I say, really, getting rid of the ejector pin marks on here was a bit silly, really, but we've done it. So we've now got to assemble this. So we've got to put these 3 springs on the base here, and then we've got to fit the pedals, and then fit that on top, and put 2 H screws in there. So what I'm going to do, first things first, I'm going to get a couple of H screws out, okay, and check that this screwdriver is going to be suitable for them, or is it too big? Yeah, that screwdriver is too big, so I'm going to get my little Tamiya one, so that'll drive it absolutely fine. So we'll have those 2 screws there. We'll close our screw box up. Then we have, I think they're telling us to glue that part, not that part. They've got here a drop of glue, but this is screwed down and these pedals are designed to move. I think they mean glue that part there. So basically we're going to take these 3 small springs. So these are SP1. So these small springs here, they're absolutely tiny. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. You wonder why I keep those stickers. It's because when we do the Pagani, if they actually send me one, I haven't heard from them for ages, actually, from Pocher. When they send me the Pagani, if they do, then we'll have the boxes already labelled up, because the kit is going to have springs and they're going to be SP1, SP2, SP3. The screws will be A, B, C, D, as you know. So we'll just leave the box labelled up rather than swapping it all around. So we've got those 3 springs placed in there. Okay, now I think this is all going to fall apart as soon as we try and touch it. Then we have the throttle pedal going in first. So we've got a pin on the bottom of there. So that's going to sit in the pivot and on the pin. Right, no it's not. Maybe they're saying glue the pedals to the springs. Maybe that's what they're saying, to try and save you from going absolutely mad. Maybe what we could do is fit this up in here. Okay, so that's got up in there. Then we've got the middle pedal, which is canted over to the right. So that's going up in there, and then we've got this pedal here, which is straight. That's going up in there. I've put that pedal in backwards. So maybe now we can hold these pedals. I'm not sure this is going to work for 1 second. In fact, no, it's not. I think what we're going to have to do is glue those springs to the pedals. That's what that drops telling you there. Glue the pedals to the springs, and then they will stay where they're put. So let's grab some super glue and get them glued in. Okay, I've got a tiny drop of the VMS 4PE glue there, which works on everything. They say it's 4PE, but it works on everything. I'm just going to dip the spring in there, and then I'm going to put the spring on there, just like so, and I'll put that to one side, let it dry, get this spring out of here. Remember, all these 3 springs are the same, so it doesn't matter which pedal they go on. Just dip the spring in a drop of the glue there. Whoops. There we go. That one on there, and then finally, third one. Grab that there. A little bit concerned of how quiet Dottie is. It's currently, which end was glued? It's currently Thursday afternoon here. Which end of this spring was glued, guys? Let's glue it again. For some reason, maybe the screw's got a bit of grease on it or something. It's a bit weird. Oh God, these cheap tweezers are useless. Why am I using them? Why am I using my nice new God Hand ones? Yeah, I've got glue on both sides of the spring now, so it would rather stick to my finger than the pedal, wouldn't it? Of course it would. That's the law of sod. Right, so we'll put those there, let them dry for a second, and then see how we get on with putting this together. I think what I'm going to end up doing is putting these pedals upside down in there and then bring this down to it. Oh dear. Okay, so I think the glue is dry. We shall soon see if it all falls apart. We'll know it's not. So what I'm going to try and do, rather than stand the pedals up because they just want to fall over, I'm going to try and do it this way. So that's going like that. That's going to be like that. So that's going to go in that way around like that. Yep. So that's going to sit in there. And then the middle one is going to sit there. You watch me knock one of these springs off now. That'll be frustrating. And then this one will go in there. And then we can turn this over and drop this on the top. Yeah, right. Like that's going to work. As you can see, this is it. I think it might be easier just to bloody glue these pedals in and not have them working. I think the idea of the springs is to have the pedals move in. I don't quite know why they've done this. But clearly it's making things complex. What if I can hold it there? And then just plonk that onto there. Is that going to work? Is it going to work? It looks like it might. Right, so I'm just going to hold that there. And then I'm going to plonk that spring into there, plonk that spring into there, and plonk that spring into there. So I think the springs are all seated. Yes, they are. So we can take this screw and put it in there just like that. And luckily, because it's screwed together, if there's anything wrong, it will come apart easily. Remember, these are going into plastic, guys, so they don't need to be launched up just until they stop. Okay. So there we go, there's our pedals. Now the only thing that's stopping them falling through is that super glue, isn't it? Or the friction, I don't know. You might just decide to just glue them in and leave the springs out. It would certainly make life a lot easier in the assembly, but right, so now this has got to go in. This is going to sit in there like that. So I'm going to put some super glue on the bottom of this. This is a footrest. It's absolutely unbelievable. You think they're doing 200 odd mile, 230, 240 mile an hour, 220 mile an hour, whatever it was, down the Mulsanne straight. And their feet are here, and in front of them there's a few aluminium tubes. It's unbelievable. So hopefully that'll be enough to hold that in. Yeah, it will be. So we'll get that nice and square. So there we are. Now I've noticed in this kit a lot of this is die-cast metal. I don't know why they didn't make it in plastic. I think it would have been a lot easier to mould the detail in plastic, but it's nice that it's metal because it means it's got a bit of weight to it, it's got a bit of strength to it. So that's that part of that done. Now we've got to fit this into our chassis. So as you can see, we've got the chassis here, and I've got this bag taped on the top to stop dust and everything getting on the dashboard. So this is literally going to drop in on top of there. Okay, now you're probably thinking it'd be easier to put that in first, but you can't because this actually sits on top of those. Remember, there were bosses. There are bosses in these pieces here, and this is actually sitting over them. So now we need some F screws, is it? Yes, F screws. I think is there 6? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 of them. So we'll get a few of these out. How many have we got there? 1, 2, 3. We've got 7. So we'll put one back. Right. Now I've already tapped the threads in the chassis for these. So we're not putting screws in that one there. We're putting screws in this one here. Okay, now this has gone down over bosses, so I'm not going to worry about tightening the screws up and then going around and retighten them all afterwards. Quite how we're going to get on that one I do not know. We can get in there, yes we can. So you can get the screwdriver down there behind the steering rack and in front of the instrument panel. Okay. In fact, I think if I use the smaller one on there, it might be a bit easier. Let's get down into there. I think probably when this was designed on a CAD machine, I don't think the model builder was considered, because I think when you sort of look at this as a CAD model, you would see all these screwed down subframes and just think to yourself, well, screw them all down. But the trouble is, when you've got the dashboard, the dashboard is actually screwed up. You can't sort of go any other way around it. I have a feeling that screw hasn't gone down. And then we have one in each end here. And these are also going to hold down those side plates. Okay, and then another one into there. And then one more, let's go back to the big one. One more over there, going into that front area. There we go. One. It's kind of feel like they're maybe the because of the lead on the tap, maybe I'm actually screwing into a blind hole, if you like, at the end, because the tap didn't get all the way down. But that's that in nice and secure. So that is our mounting for our front wishbones. It's going to be fun getting pins in there, isn't it? Again, I think, like I say, when you look at it as a CAD model on a computer screen, I think it's going to look a lot more straightforward than when it actually comes to in the flesh trying to assemble it. Now the way to get around this, if you want to, is don't fit the instrument panel Okay, and don't fit this assembly here and then just glue it in afterwards. You have screws up underneath, but you won't be able to get them in. But there we go. Right, so we have our pedals in, all moving. We have the footrest in. So that's that. And as I say, that is a very, very simplified. That's a very, very simplified structure. In reality, it's a lot more complicated than that. There's lots of bits and pieces going on everywhere. So you may want to super detail it, whatever. But you're not going to see any of it unless you actually open the front, and even then it's down behind there. So and then when you look inside, as you can see here, when you look down inside, if you imagine you've got the bodywork on, you're not going to be able to look from that angle. You're going to be looking through the door. It's going to be very difficult to see any of it. So I'm not surprised they simplified it. Why spend the extra tooling costs and design costs for something that no one's going to see? Somebody did ask, I did mention in the last video, and they asked me in the comments if I'm going to drill this hole out. Yes, I am, so that I can position the steering wheel correctly. So that then, my friends, has been step 8 completed, and we're on video number 7. So as I say, we're going out of sync now. So that's that. So step 9 is that way around. Right? Step 9 is going to be this one. We're going to build up the front wishbones and everything, put these pins in. That's going to be a lot of fun. We've got those pins to go in there. If they're as tight as the top ones were, they're going to be really fun to get in. Okay, so moving along, we're now looking at step 9, and here they're telling us to build up these wishbone spring assemblies and then fit them to the car. Now, I haven't tried this yet, but we'll let you know what it's like right now. But I would rather fit the wishbones first, because if you remember, when we did that's the wrong side. When we did the wishbones here, we had to sort of move them around to get the pins to go in. Now, I'm not sure we're going to have the same problem here because everything looks a lot more straightforward. But just in case we do, I'd rather leave this off and then fit this to the car. Fit the spring and this upright here. I'd rather fit that to the car and have the wishbone separate. Yeah? So I think that's what I'm going to do. So it's telling us to use these pins number 3. Sorry, the pins are in here, aren't they? Nope, they are in here. Pin 3, yeah. I couldn't see for looking then. So we'll just get 2 out. So we've got 1, 2. Bear in mind they only give you the right number of pins, guys, so be careful of your carpet monsters. Now, I'm not sure how tight these are going to be. And I'm not sure, do they actually press fit into here? No, they're a free fit on there, so they're going to press fit into the plastic. So that's going to make life a little easier. So we can push that into there and get it lined up. And then we can grab some pliers. Now, there are ejector pin marks on here on these wishbones. But again, just like with the pedals, the whole assembly has been slightly simplified. So what I'd rather do is just concentrate on working on the bits that can be seen, because these are sat in behind the wheels. They're not going to be seen. I spent all that time on the Lamborghini. That's gone in lovely. I spent all that time on the Lamborghini doing all that extra work, and then all of it's hidden. So I'm not going to do that on this one. I'm only going to spend time on stuff that we can actually see. I'll probably mess around with the brakes because we'll be able to see those through the wheels. But we won't be taking the wheels off, so that means we're never going to see this suspension. So I'm going to hold this here on an angle and attempt to push it into there. Okay, it's gone, so that's good. And then I can push it through. If I can make the wishbone... You see, this is what I mean. I need to move the wishbone around, and if I had the spring and everything attached, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. So there we go, that's gone in. Right, so we've now got our pivoting lower wishbone. So I'll do the same on the other side, and then I'll come back. Right, so you can see I've done one side, got it all put together. I wanted to see how it all goes before I showed you, rather than have the unprofessional approach of what's going on here then. So what we need one of these. This is part DCD26. These are handed. Be careful because the pin on the end of here is cranked, and that pin is going to go up into a hole in the bottom of that wishbone. So we've got our spring there, which is SP3. We have our lower part of the shock absorber, which is DCD3, upper part, which is DCB16, and then we'll have a pin number 1. So I think now we've used all our pins, so that's it for pins, all gone. And then we're going to have a screw C, which is a tiny little thing, and a little bit awkward to get in, and you can guarantee that now the camera's on, it's going to prove nearly impossible to get in. But anyway, we'll get there. Right, so first things first, I'm going to take the lower part of the shock absorber, and hopefully you can see this. I'm going to hold it in position. I'm going to first of all get the screw. Now the screw passes through the hole in here, but it cuts a thread in there and it cuts a thread in this one. So we need to first of all get the screw into that hole. Yeah, this is where it gets tricky, because the magnetics of this old Tamiya screwdriver are not that good. Okay, so we've got to get that screw into that hole, which is so difficult. Where's my tweezers? Right. And then place this lower shock absorber. Oh, I just pulled the screw out again. I knew this was going to happen when I put the camera on. I just knew it. Right, so that's going in there. That's going in there, and then we're going to screw that screw in. If I can find the bloody hole. Oh, this is unbelievable, guys. This is absolutely, utterly unbelievable. The other side was tricky, but it was nothing like this. Yeah, having seen how this goes together, having done the other side, I still would recommend doing it this way, because you're going to see in a minute when I go to put the shock absorber on. Oh dear. There's a lot of pressure required to get this in. I'm not sure this is actually going to go. I mean, the thread is in that hole, but it doesn't want to, it's not finding the center. It's almost like the casting is too big and it won't allow it to reach the hole. There we go, I think it's gone in now. Oh, blimey, that's tight. Why is it so tight? I've actually tapped a thread in there. I don't know why it's so tight going in. It's obviously cutting another thread. I'm going to get this in, I'll come back. Okay, so we got that in. Now, this is something the instructions don't tell you. To fit this part here, obviously we've got a thread in here now, and we've got a thread in there. So if I screw that screw all the way in, I won't be able to screw that on because it's threaded into there. So what we're going to do is put this screw in, thread it into the shock absorber, and have it flush at the back end. And then we can hold this piece in position. Okay, and then put the screw in so it's screwing into both. Alright, just like that. So now that screw is threading into the black part and the silver shock absorber. I should have done that side on this side off camera, because I'm right-handed and it's very difficult to do it this way round. I'm just screwing that in. I think this screw must be dodgy, because I've also tapped the thread in there and it's very tight, and then that's going to pop up in the bottom of there. There's a hole. Now I don't want to glue it or anything yet, because then we may have to spread it apart for some reason to get the wishbone in or something. The upright, sorry. So now what we're going to do is fit the spring onto the shock absorber. We're going to wind the steering rack over as far as we can so it's not in the way. Put the top of the shock absorber onto there. Alright, and then what we're going to do now is take our pin in our pliers. Again, this is going to be awkward for me because I'm right-handed. I'm going to push the shock absorber down so it goes into that slot, and then we're going to push the pin through into there and then get that shock absorber down so the pin lines up. And push it through. Sorry guys, this is very awkward for you to see on camera because it's also big and cumbersome and I've got big hands. Once it lines up, there we go. We can just push that pin through. Go on through the other side, you swine. What I'm going to have to do is do a pincer movement on it. Doesn't want to go through. Oh, you complete and utter swine. Nope, something's wrong. It needs to be drilled out or something, or the shock absorber is pulling it on an angle. Let me get that sorted. Alright, got it in the pliers, it finally went, click, it went in. So I think there must have been a bit of flash in the hole or something. So now we've got these two steering arms. I thoroughly recommend make sure you fit these steering arms after the shock absorbers, because otherwise they don't say 1, 2, 3 in the instructions. But if you put these in first, you won't be able to get those pins in. So and then these are going to go in, and basically it looks like they are going, it's very awkward to see actually which way up they go. It kind of looks like they're going that way up. So you've got this step there, it looks like it's going that way up, so the step is on the bottom. So that's for this side, because when it goes in the steering rack it needs to point forward. Okay, so what I've done here, I've tapped the threads, they're 2mm. So we've got 2 screw E's. Where's my screwdriver? We've got 2 screw E's. Okay, 1, 2. And what I've done, I've tapped the thread in here, but I've only gone halfway in, so it kind of locks. So we'll put the screw on there. We'll put this in here and hope it's the right way around. I'm sure the way the instructions are drawn, it looks like this is at the top, not the bottom. So that's going to go into there. Then we pass the screw through. It should get tight, yes, it gets tight there, so it won't unscrew itself. Now I think what I'm going to have to do is take those out and put some thread lock on them. I have some Tamiya thread lock here somewhere, wherever it's gone, because otherwise they're just going to wind themselves out. So that's going to go in that way. Okay, now if you do the screws up, obviously you're pulling them tight, so then they can't pivot. So what we need to do is leave the screw slightly loose, and then we'll put some thread lock on there. I'm hoping those screws there we go. They will go through. That's all good. Right, so what I'm going to do is lift that up. I'm going to give that screw a nip to keep it straight and vertical. I'm not going to put thread lock on them yet because I'm not sure about these ends. I'm not sure they're the right way up. It certainly looks like it's the right way up. In fact, yeah, it must be the right way up. They wouldn't have it the other way up. So I'm going to find my thread lock and put some thread lock on those. You could even just put a drop of super glue on there actually. Okay, so what you can do here, tiny drop of super glue in the hole. Okay, just that, just a tiny drop. You don't need much, it's just got to stop the screw from screwing out. It's not trying to hold it all together or anything. And then what we'll do is, I've done it again, I'm doing the wrong side on the camera. And then we'll put that in that hole, put the screw in, wind the screw through. Okay, and then we'll just slacken the screw off so that has a bit of movement in it. Slacken it off a touch more. I don't want it to be all floppy, just want it to just be able to support its own weight. There we go. So that's good. Do the same on the other side, just pull that through there. Pull that screw out. Get the screw loaded on the screwdriver. We'll take this one out. Oh, bloody hell. I'm not having a good day today, guys. I'm sorry. I'm really struggling today with this. Everything I touch is going wrong. Oh, now I've dropped the bloody screw. It's in my jeans. There we go. Right. I think I need to remagnetise my screwdrivers. So that's going that way up. That's going in there. Screw's going in there. Tighten that up. There we go. That side's good. And what we should find is the screw is now, as you can see, the screw is glued to the arm. So that means it won't wind itself out. If you do need to take it out, it'll crack out. But there we go. Alright, so that's that done. Okay, so we have completed step number 9. So I think what we'll do is call that a day, because now we're going to be going into brakes and stuff, and I'm probably going to be wanting to do some painting and that. So I'll get that done in the meantime, and I'll see you all back next week, and we'll get the front brakes on, and then we can go on. We'll miss this bit out, we'll go on to this and get this front end all finished. I don't understand why they do this. Why are they going to doing this when you're already working on the front end? And then I think we'll turn over the page here, and we're back on the front end again. We're not using this panel here until we get to here. So, and then we're back on the engine, then we're back on the chassis. It's sort of a bit all over the place, but I want to follow the instructions. But I'm not doing that. I'm going to do this to get this area here done, and then we can get it all covered up, wrapped up, whatever. And what I'm going to do here is take this back down, and that'll keep dust and crap from the top of that dashboard, because it's got a nice flock on it. Right, so that's step 9 complete. Next week we'll do step 10. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.